Cue the white smoke. We got a new pope. Former Cardinal Robert Prevost took the name Pope Leo XIV as the world's 267th pontiff and the first born in the U.S. And get this, Pope Leo may be a brother. So James, I mean, is he or not? I don't know. Like, James, what's going on here?
All right, so from what I understand, you know, obviously, I think this kind of plays into or comes out of the fact that because he's from the U.S., because he's from Chicago, I feel that, you know, a lot more people, at least in the country, are keyed in to who he is and his past. So, you know, we're seeing old tweets, we're seeing, you know, his brothers kind of like talking about what it was like growing up with him. But that also means that coming out of the U.S., you carry kind of that racial baggage, you know, with you. People want to know. You know, nothing is ever like super cut and dry, right? About your.
They want to know, what are you?
Right, they want to know.
And he's a lot of things.
I mean, looking kind of dusky.
I mean, he's got a little tint,
you know.
Right?
and you know, some of the reports, I forgot from which paper, but some of the reports that are kind of making the rounds suggest that someone on his mother's side, you know, comes out of a Creole background. Some would even say Haitian. Whether or not that's true, I do not know. I think you are the genealogy connector.
Oh, well, okay. There is a gentleman by the name of Jare Honora who the New York Times reported had done this genealogy discovery and found, and as we know, Pope Leo has Italian, French, and Spanish ancestry, and then this genealogical dig revealed that, yes, his mother had some Creole roots that are in Louisiana, possibly Haiti as well. But she also allegedly, the Detroit Catholic reported that when she moved to Chicago, she chose to pass. And we know that this is something people did, have done throughout history, trying to assimilate if they look white, assimilating to that identity to avoid racial discrimination. So, Reverend Price, you are nodding your head because there's a lot of little tentacles up in this story, right? I mean, why are we so obsessed with this right now?
Well, in the United States of America, we're overly fascinated with race, right? We're overly fascinated with race. Not even so much culture, not even so much ethnicity. We're overly fascinated with race. So we can take his family line based on this genealogy back to the late 19th century. And by 1910, the family has chosen, part of the Great Migration, to move to Chicago. And the mother at that time has passed, right? Put white on her identification markers. The question is, how does that influence and impact how he shows up in the world and who he presents himself to be? So never before have we had the question. So never before have we questioned whether he was a brother, okay? So what he is somewhat of an immigrant, what actually makes his election as Pope by over 100 people out of 133, which is significant. He's an immigrant because by the time he gets ordained as a priest, and I think about 1982, by 1985, he's in Peru. And he's in Peru for the great majority of his ministry through all the elevations until he's elevated to Rome. So he's never really been an American clerical leader per se. So he's an immigrant. He's a U.S.-born person who's serving in Peru, which means that he understands the global piece and the inclusive piece of the power, influence, and impact of the Catholic Church.
As the Pope absolutely should. And it just strikes me because, right, like we are so quick to jump on these things, and it's so fascinating how, whether it's Black America or whatever, we are so quick to claim somebody, right? And to say, oh yeah, like I know Lydia Edwards was quoted in the Globe noting how, oh yeah, like he has some people in Louisiana that he's related to, and that's kind of cool that you might be related to the Pope. My question though is, well, is he showing up to the family reunion? To your point about lived experience.
Yeah. I haven't seen him. Have you?
No, I have not. but that's the thing that I find so interesting about this, right? Is it's such an arbitrary discussion.
Yeah.
And it's so uniquely like us, like U.S., United States. It's so unique to here, right? Like, let's just say, for the sake of argument, that Creole does not include any Creole of color, right? Let's just say, for the sake of argument, you know, he doesn't have any Haitian ancestry or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Still, though, he was born in 1955, all right? You know, around the same time as my father in South Carolina, right? My dad was born in South Carolina. He was from Chicago, right? at that time, right, and maybe even a generation before that, so it might be changing around this mid-century period, Italian heritage, Spanish heritage, that's not white. That's not welcome in the United States.
Such a great point.
Yeah,
and
not
it's
then.
Italians are
Exactly.
dirty. They're not welcome. They're apart. They were considered, stereotyped as, less intelligent, prone to violence, right?
Yeah.
Like that is already kind of, to use some racial language, a black mark, right, on one's heritage and exclusion from like the club of whiteness. And I just find that particularly interesting.
And it's worth also noting that it has been reported that his grandfather, Joseph Martinez, was Haitian or classified as black as well. So a lot of different nuances there, which, and it's been reported too that even moreover, this reflects the complicated experience of people in America when it comes to race. So in that regard, maybe it is the perfect time for him to be elected pope. But whether he's black or not, what exactly does his background, how does that position him to serve as the people's pope?
Well, again, I think he has a perspective on what it means to be other, and perhaps what it means to be, and I don't like the term, but a minority in the majority space. He's Augustinian by order, so he's taken vows of poverty, of service, and of spreading the gospel, which we use the term evangelizing. He also has targeted a lot of his speaking around social justice, around, inclusivity, around
Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter, yeah. So it'd be
against
interesting
murder
to see, because the big challenges in the Catholic Church now are around gender, are around the LGBTQ community, and are around the possibility of women able to let their voice be heard. So he's calling for a synod church, right? Democratization of the Catholic Church, so you get more perspectives and more views. So let's see how far he goes with that.
Could some of those perspectives include Black Catholics, a group that we know makes up only 6% of the Catholic Church and as many times has felt ostracized?
I think quite possibly, right? And you might be able to speak to this more than I can, but I just find it particularly interesting that he, was coming out of, his missionary work, in Peru, right? And is now, the bishop of Rome, right? But you have to think for a second that, the Catholic representation in Europe is on the decline.
Yeah.
The Catholic Church is growing
in Latin America,
in these, what we would call communities, of color. And so I think there's no way that he's not thinking about how, Black and brown Catholics are showing up, on the world stage and being welcomed into that fold. I'm not saying he's trying to, abandon, European Catholics, but the growth, the shepherding, right, that pastorality is in those groups that have historically, been marginalized on the world stage.
If you look at his timeline from around 2021 until now, this cat has just climbed.
Not this cat.
I mean,
For real.
He's just climbed the rankings in a way that is really unprecedented. And then again, for him to have over 100 votes of the 133 people. So you're right, James. This dude knows how to grow a church. This dude knows how to reach the people. This dude knows how to inspire faith and really challenge the proximity of hope, meaning making it possible for people to feel hope in disparate times. And this person is probably going to be able to speak to the numerous leaders of the world right now, many of which are operating from, if not a nationalistic, a white supremacist orientation.
Do you think he'll run into some challenges there?
Of course, but if there is a person to do it, having said the Cardinals have chosen him, this has to be the person to do it.
All right. And it's worth, James, you noted the growing Catholic population in Latin America. Also worth noting that there are more than 20% of Catholics are in Africa as well, on the African continent. And we know that there are various issues that Pope Francis addressed there. And so we could see that lineage continuing, that legacy continuing. Now, I am curious because there are 6 Black saints who have yet to be canonized. Do you think that could happen under Pope Leo?
Now this will be...
Yeah, tell me about this.
This will be where we find out if the brother can come to the cookout.
If he's kinfolk or kinfolk.
You know what I mean? Now we need to see. Now I'm talking about his trajectory and rise. We need to see that number increase exponentially, because by that measurement, we will know if he is down for the cause.
Okay, so there you hear it. That is the test. What do you think, James? Could it happen?
I do not know about the I didn't even know there were 6 in the wings. So you're saying they're on the cusp of sainthood.
And they've been hanging out
And
for
this
a
is-
long time.
This is top dog that can kind of put them over the edge. So the question I have then is like, why has that not happened yet? Is it because, Black affairs, Black issues, immigrant issues, others issues aren't really at the forefront of the minds, of previous leaders of this church? Does that perspective that he brings, to that chair, in the Vatican, does that it's just oh, I'm thinking about it. I'm aware of it. Of course, come on into the sainthood club. Versus why would I think about that? I'm some dude from Poland, right? What do I'm serious. You kind of you feel what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's certain rubrics by which people have to go through. It's like you got to do this, and then a couple of years, and then there has to be a miracle and stuff. There's all these things. But the point is, people can see what they want to see when they want to see it, if they want to see it. Let's see if he wants to see it.
Yeah.
Right. Well, you heard it here. That is Reverend Emmett G. Price III, along with James Bennett II, talking about Pope Leo XIV.
Ooh, Roman numerals stacking up.
I am Paris Alston the first, but not the only. Fun fact. And that is it for this episode of GBH News Rooted.